Yeah,
Yesterday.
right, we turn off of Green Acre, well, it's Lincolnville Road in Belmont, but
Huh?
from there on. We did it in the middle of the summer. You couldn't see, it was just down there.
Oh.
It was 80.
Oh, no,
70 feet of visibility.
Well,
It was just.
Oh, no,
big, right?
it's dark night.
Oh, shoot.
And hard day.
Sorry,
Lights are bright. Oh.
I have to go, I don't have to.
So. We'll see what happens. Mr. Hand. I saw you.
Good evening. Welcome to the select board meeting for Town of Lincolnville for November 10th. Would you read the quote for the evening, please?
Sure. Democracy is a slow process of stumbling to the right decision instead of going straight forward to the wrong one. Anonymous.
Okay. With that behind us, does anybody have a non-agenda item they'd like to come putting for now? Being no one rushing and being on. Report. David?
Just want to let you know that all the floats out at Breezemere Park. One of the dinghy floats and the easternmost float at the harbor have been removed and stored on our new piece of property. I don't want to steal too much thunder. Winter sand is up. Boats and trolleys are here for a little later. We do want to make sure to extend big thanks to all the election and ballot clerks for their work last week in preparation and in conducting the election and reporting afterwards. And special shout out probably to Karen as deputy town clerk for doing all the work behind the scenes and keeping all the absentees and all that other stuff straight. Outside of that, I think everything else is on the agenda. Oh, we did start on some tree and brush removal, well, not tree, brush removal alongside Moody Mountain Road. Our contractor experienced a mechanical failure, piece of equipment, and that's being repaired, and we'll be back working way back from Market Corner Road to Hope Road on the southwest side. Outside of that, it's all on the agenda.
Thank you. Any questions for David?
Yeah, I got to ask the perennial question. Any news on the harbor camera? The camera webcam thing that we've got?
It was up the last time I looked.
Okay, cool. That's all I wanted to hear. Good.
As long as the power doesn't go out, we don't have any trouble whatsoever.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, moving along to meetings and announcements.
All meetings are here at the town office unless announced otherwise. Town office is closed tomorrow, Tuesday, November 11th, in observance of Veterans Day. The planning board is scheduled to meet Wednesday, November 12th, 6 p.m. Conservation Commission is scheduled to meet Thursday, November 13th, 4 p.m. The Comprehensive Plan Review Committee is holding a land use workshop on Wednesday, November 19th, 6 p.m. at the Walsh Common of the Lincolnville Central School. It's obviously open and encouraged for the public to attend. The select board meets next on Monday, November 24th, 6 p.m.
Are there any upcoming community events?
Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock at the Camden Hills Regional High School, there is a free breakfast for all veterans and their significant others. Then at 11:15, veterans will be standing at the wall in Camden for 15 minutes. Then at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, there is a veterans program at the American Legion, 91 Pearl Street, Camden. Lasts about an hour. And so just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you. Next up, meeting minutes. We have 30 sets. Pretty good. Or comment or any motion on the first set from October 21st.
I move that the board approve the October 21st, 2025 meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
I feel I should include myself. Although they are good-looking minutes, I was not involved.
So no. Moving forward, welcome and comment or a motion on set for October 23rd.
I move the board approve the October 23rd, 2025 meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Once again. Well, you know,
So noted. And lastly, we have it set from October 27th. as a first comment.
I move that the board approve the October 27th, 2025 meeting minutes with the amendment of a correction to line 59. Because I don't think Andy wants his last name spelled Yoon.
D you on.
We have a motion,
I'll second that.
and a second, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
And you know.
So noted. Thank you very much. Next up on the agenda, we have our annual winter road maintenance update. Welcome, Mr. Farley.
Hello, Tom Farley, Farley Inc., and Jason is my supervisor this year, so we're gonna tell you that we are ready. And one of the things that makes us ready, more ready than ever, is we have multiple things to tell you about the trucks. One, the trucks will start on their own, so we don't have the downtime of 45 minutes to roll. The plows are a different, more aggressive plow. So we should be able to scrape cleaner. We keep going through the thing. We can now talk on the radio because we have Starlink on the roof. Every truck, because you know the phones don't work in Lincolnville, nor the radios work in Lincolnville. Now we can talk together and every truck can follow where the other trucks are.
Without communication to anyone else. You
Right.
can Look on a screen and you
Yeah.
can see what trucks are.
Yep.
As well as center line sander now, we're sanding at the center line.
Center line now.
It's just gonna improve the ability to get better granular coverage over the whole road, as opposed to what we were doing with our rear sander in previous years.
And downtime because of bad sand, even though we supply the sand, it does get frozen now and then. We now can dump the truck. We don't have to shovel the truck out.
Just improved expedited service for the roads and people.
They can also hold a yard and a half more.
While maintaining safe operation.
Any questions?
We have 7 drivers for 5 trucks. We've never had that before.
And yeah, we've got a really good group.
So these are the new F600.
F600. So we have 4 F600s done. One's had to wait for a few parts. That will be done before Christmas. But we have 5 of the 550s still available. So there's 10 trucks available.
Hopefully we don't need that.
We hopefully don't. Some days we did though.
Any questions?
No, we believe we're prepared better than ever. Yep.
Will you still be on Lincolnville Highway
Will you still be on Lincolnville Highway? What do you
for
mean?
the radio? Like.
No, it doesn't even work. Doesn't even work.
I know LFP.
Yeah, no. It doesn't work for us because we can't buy that service anymore unless somebody allows us to do it. We used to be able to trunk off and then go off it, but we can't do it anymore. Called them up and they said that technology is beyond us. Kenny Page, one thing we are working on, and we told Dave about this is. We're hoping to have a channel with, through Teams. With whatever you guys want to put it on for responses. And we don't mind what we get, we're just gonna let it filter to the drivers. And that way we don't delay on if there's a complaint somewhere. So we're working on it. We've got it set up on our end and we've got to give you the link. And then you would put it on your website. They could hit that and just bitch or complain about it or whatever they want. And then we get that response
You get it in real time?
real time to the trucks. which we'd rather do it that way, because there's no sense to filter it.
You would rather do it that way?
Yeah, we thought about
You
it.
sure?
We've done it before with other clients and we don't mind.
The
'Cause we-
the only reason I ask is
Yeah.
that is we don't get the information.
Say it again.
We don't get the information then if you're bypassing.
Oh, yes, you do. You're gonna have access to the information.
So it'll come to us too.
Yeah, yeah, you'll have access to the information.
Okay.
I think what we wanted to do was just eliminate, especially in the middle of the night, we're not gonna run for something. This is our golden rule. We follow the route unless Jason or I say break the route. So we're not gonna respond to something unless it's a life safety issue that somebody's telling us, like a fire department. Or, you know, but we're basically gonna respond in our route run, but we're gonna know somebody's complaining about something wrong with 52 or whatever. So that's how we're gonna filter it. That's what we've been. It's better than going through our office, depending on what time it is, then filtering back to us. We don't get that, we might not even respond or know what's going on.
Okay.
So, yeah, thank you, but I would say we don't mind, and we will definitely, the channel will be available, whatever is said is gonna be available. Yeah, yeah.
I have a question. Just, if we wanted to put up something, at the edge of our yard, the driveway markers, reflective markers, whatever, just so that you have a better idea where the road is
Yeah.
during that. Is there a rule as far as how close they need to be to the pavement?
Depends on the road, right? So if it's paved, I wouldn't suggest it at all, but if it's dirt, we could stake it for you too. We were out today staking. We finished everything but one route. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
thanks.
yeah, a lot of times too many stakes isn't good, but a few stakes is, especially if there's an issue or where we've turned or it's a dead end or a turnaround, the dirt roads, it's hard to always tell what we're supposed to be, especially in the snowstorm.
Or if you're marking,
Till we get
if
snow
you're
bands.
marking your own driveway, Robin, for your own purposes, I keep the first stake.
No, it-
10 feet off the pavement.
Honestly, it's not our driveway, but the road does curve around our house,
yeah.
and you take out huge gouges from our lawn, which is 3 or 4 feet back from the edge of the pavement, by cutting the corner closer. And
Yes.
it just occurred to me that it was like,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe something that told you this is 3 feet off the road. Don't
Well, we can at
go this
least,
far.
if you get a hold of us to tell us, we can at least look at it and tell you what we can and can't.
I was making a note to call.
Yep. We definitely don't want to get stuck because we're off the road somewhere, or whatever, like, so. To know the road or to know how somebody wants us to plow it would be awesome. We can say yay and nay, but
If that channel's up, can she use it right now? It's fun.
she could say.
There you
she
go.
could say
You
that
can
I
test
want
it
that.
out.
Excellent. And then we might filter it through Dave and say, or through the office and say, so-and-so. Yep. We're gonna try it. Well, I don't think there's any negative on it really, because we already see it anyways, but we might see it later on Facebook or whatever. So,
Sure. Well, sounds like we're in good shape this season.
Yeah. we just hope it doesn't stop.
How would it work if, excuse me, you want to ask a question, you need to come up.
Oh, you do?
Make sure the animal.
How would the team's call work if you guys weren't in the trucks? Does it go to cell phones?
Oh, yeah, that's the good thing about it. So. The good thing about the teams is all of the trucks. All of their cell phones will work with Teams, but if they go home and go to sleep, they're off. So whoever's on call is gonna get it. What's happened in the past is. We give you one name and you guys call that one name, it doesn't work. So it's broadcasting better than ever.
It's like a meeting,
Yep.
it's like a meeting app. We use
It's
that. at
totally
work.
the meeting app.
Yeah,
It's a wonderful.
I was just thinking when we start having calls and have issues at the beginning of the storm and they haven't mobilized yet,
No,
if we were able to reach out to their cell phones,
oh, yeah,
it would be much
You know,
better.
I have it on mine, but it works great. It really
okay,
does.
it's unbelievable.
That was my only question.
No, and there'll be a little learning curve on we could give you the rights to some of that too, you know what I mean? So you can call us on that.
With the fire.
So, that's what so I would think that like the fire chief things in the past, it's been a little confusing. Because we never know who's gonna talk to us, it's not always the fire chief. And it's sometimes, they're telling us to come from this direction or that direction, so we. Yeah, and then more of our crews are hearing it, so it's not just one person trying to then talk to somebody in Lincolnville that we can't even use cell phones.
Great. Well, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. Have a good evening, guys.
Thank you.
Moving along, some harbor matters, we need to look at our schedule of fees for the coming year. Any representative want to?
If you want me, you're welcome to have me, but if there's no question.
You mind briefly stating what your plan is, what you're proposed?
I'm Nick Heel, Chair of the Lincolnville Harbor Committee. We went over the harbor fees and there was a vote of 3-1 to raise the fees by 5%. Any questions?
So what we got in front of us represents that 5%.
Yeah, and it's rounded to the nearest dollar, whether it's up or down, I believe. Or anything else to do with the harbor.
If no other questions.
Thank
Where's the bird?
There is no motion. You're, by the ordinance, you're supposed to set the fees in December. They make recommendation in November. You set in December, we send out bills in January. That way, the public is aware of what the harbor committee has made for recommendations, so if they want to show up to tell you it's a good idea, they will.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Thank you, Doug.
Yeah.
Our next item for number 8, we need to go in second for the assessors.
I move that we suspend our meeting as the select board and that we convene as a board of assessors. Second.
All in favor? Philip?
Aye.
Gary, you gonna come and join us?
Mike's a.
I gotta slide back.
I guarantee they'll come back. I'll send them a text. Oh, wait.
Is Mr. Dupuy joining us?
No.
No. Would you like to summarize what we have?
Sure, which one do you have first?
Let's go with adding to dock.
These are written abatement requests. The Board of Assessors is required by statute to address these within 60 days of their application, or they're automatically deemed denied by statute, and then they go on to the next level of appeal. Ms. Stocks met with the folks from RJD after commitment was done, and had filed for this because they had her property listed for a bath and a half, and then we had the bathroom, it made a little difference in her thing. They would have just done it as part of a regular, like they did the last 20 of them. They did a week or two ago. But she filed a written abatement request, so to accurate. And they're recommending its adjustment in value of $5,000, which is $42 and some odd cents a year.
Any comments or questions? If not, then we'll
I move that the board approve abatement number 2526-27 for Abby Stocks in the amount of $42.30.
Second.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? You. And the next one is for the mental health costs.
Yes, and that representative of the property owner met with the folks from RJD prior to commitment. RJD did not make any changes to their value, and they thought that they were appropriate and assigned per everybody else is in town. People obviously weren't satisfied with that answer and filed an abatement request. Position RJB hasn't changed. The property is unique in terms of its topography and its size and shape. It's a long skinny lot. A substantial reduction was made to the property before commitment. If the property had been more typical in nature on the ocean, it probably would have been assessed of land only in excess of $800,000. The reduction for size, shape, and topography took the value down to $362,880 per land. And the building is the building, whether it's
Mhm.
Atlantic Highway or my neighborhood.
So there's already been a reduction before the tax commitment?
Well, there was a when they do the valuation, they look, when they do the assessment, they look at the size and shape of your property as well as the topography, you know, whether it's full of ravines or mountainous or a steep slope or something like that. And they make, they note that in the record, and I suppose it could increase the value of your property, but typically it decreases the value of your property. And there was a reduction given for both size and shape, which are combined together, and then a reduction for topography of the lot.
Looking at the land assessment though, from 2024 to 2025. That's a huge jump.
I would say that in 2024, the land was assessed well below market value. Okay. Maybe inappropriate.
Reval.
Revaluation.
Very hard, as probably everybody in this room knows, it's very hard to compare what was done in 2007 to what was done in 2025.
Yeah.
And I think it was shocking to a number of people, the changes that have occurred in the market.
Well, I'm not familiar with this property at all. And I'm going off what the homeowner or taxpayer says here. But if it's only 1,300 feet away from the shore, they cannot see any of the land, any of the water from their house, and it takes 20 minutes to navigate that 1,300 feet. It must be extremely thick down. Is that the case?
Never been.
There is a very deep gully before, which would take, I don't know if it'll take 20 minutes, but it will take some time to traverse down into that gully and back up again. If you look at your map, you'll see that gully right here. Picture of that.
Okay.
But it is still water.
It is what, 35 feet of water. Yes.
David, procedurally, if we say deny this, would she then, if she chose to pursue it, does she have further recourse?
Oh, yeah. Any taxpayer, first you have 185 days from when the commitment was done to file a written abatement request. That deadline is March 19th, 2026. So if anybody is dissatisfied with the valuation of their property, you have until mid-March of next year to file an abatement request. Written abatement requests come to this Board of Assessors to consider. The assessor's agent makes a recommendation, and then you're free to take it or leave it as you see fit or alter it in any way you want. Once the Board of Assessors makes their determination, a taxpayer then gets notified of that decision in writing. And then if they want to, they can file another appeal locally with the Board of Assessment Review. And then if they're dissatisfied with that application and hearing, it can go, depending on the value of the property, it either goes to county commissioners or to court.
And what does the Board of Assessment Review look?
looks just like everybody in this room, citizens of the community that volunteer their time to hear appeals, and typically we provide counsel for that meeting, so they make sure they're following the law and dotting the T, crossing the i's.
Okay.
So. I understand. The difference between way back when it was first done and now. There's a huge difference in the values comparatively. Of waterfront properties. And this is classified as waterfront properties. But if there is such a terrain between her house and the waterfront, and it doesn't seem like it would be feasible to spend money to enjoy it, are we really, or is it really being looked at for what it is? Does that make any sense? I'm just trying to say that if this is really not, if it's just a half-day project to get to the place to see some water, and you gotta spend an unbelievable amount of money to make it, to make it approachable, are we looking at it for what it really is? Or is the person that did the assessment really looking at it for what it is? I have no reason to believe that the information that was given to us tonight, as far as 3 soil scientists and everything, isn't accurate, although there are no documents to back that up. But in my opinion, I would think it deserves another one.
And I think that's what they've done. I mean, that's why when the application comes in, they don't just say denied. They review what's been done. And I think in their minds, they think that a reduction from over 800,000 to just over 3 is an adequate reduction to a 2.8. Something like that. 2.5 acre lot.
So when was the reduction made?
Well, the reduction was made before the assessments were sent out.
Okay.
So you're saying it would have been the
so-
land portion that's 326?
If the lot had
something.
I'm not making this up. 200 feet of frontage and it was square on the ocean and it was 2.8 acres or whatever it was, it would have been assessed at over $800,000.
Okay.
It's not. The lot is long, skinny, with varying, widths to it. But it's still a 2.8 acre lot that abuts Route 1 and the ocean. And it has a house on it, and the lot is also, it's not an undeveloped lot, it's a developed lot where the land values include wells, septic, driveway, utilities, all that costs are in the land value as well. And the reval people and our current assessor's agent, same people, believe that this is done in the same fashion they would treat other taxpayers. They're not setting them differently. It is a substantial change from what that property was assessed at previously.
One, one comment that myself went back to a couple times about the soil test is it's not being evaluated for another lot to be broken out or.
But it sounds like it couldn't be broken into another lot either. Yeah, okay.
I didn't even go there. I mean, that's irrelevant to me, that part. But I'd like this board to consider, maybe to think about. If you look at the assessor's letter, and if you look at the last paragraph and read where he said to her or said to the client, you did not provide sufficient evidence to support that the assessment was manifestly wrong. And so, if you get out of Penn Bay Hospital and they say, you got cancer. You say, what? If it's a good doctor, he'll ask you to get a second opinion. And I'd like this board to consider advising her maybe to get an appraisal of her property so that we have something else to go by other than just one individual's. It's just a thought, on one individual's or one company's action. And if she doesn't want to do something like that, I mean, everybody's trying to do the best we can to be fair. All we want to do is be fair. All I want. And I think that she ought to be given the opportunity to have that property appraised and see what the difference is from a different appraisal.
Yeah, and I guess that's where I was going, you know, there are a couple of other options for her to prove her position beyond this body. If we were to deny it, she could, or the property owner could then perhaps utilize some other tools at their disposal to make that argument. Rather than, I mean, I feel like I'm put in a position of taking what I feel like is some rather anecdotal biased position of the property owner. And then our assessor's agent, who we're going to be working with and have a long-term relationship with, and yet we haven't necessarily built that same level of trust that, I mean, professionally, sure, but you know, it's not the same as having Vern here in the room, for example. But you know, I don't know that I feel like what I'm hearing tonight, I don't know that this body here, as we're convened, dragging this conversation out, and I don't know what sort of options we would have. Like, I hear you saying that you're suggesting that the owner come back with more information. Are you suggesting to table this and ask for the property owner to go back to our assessor's agent with different information and then bring it back to us?
I'm trying to say that she should be given that option again. Maybe she wasn't, like, if you go to Frank for something, you know, Frank gives you the options. You can do this, this, and this, and I'm not sure that this assessing agency did that. I wasn't in the room, so we don't know that. But I think that these people should be given the option to maybe do, you know, have should be thrown at them again. And I have no problem with the assessment of the building. My problem is with the assessment of the land.
Mhm.
I think the building is assessed properly, but I don't think the land is assessed properly. Or I think if they come back and another appraisal company says, oh yeah, if it's within 50,000 or something, I'm just using that as a, don't think of, but I'm saying, oh yeah, well, just something to me inside is just, I don't have a fuzzy feeling about it. Sorry. So yes, I'd like to see.
Well,
Yeah, and I mean, I'm inclined with Rosie, because I was, you know, the part of the statute that's in here for shore land zoning talks about a single unit residential structure as having a minimum amount of shoreland, you know, of frontage of 160 feet, which is way different than 35. And I actually have been to this house, so I'm familiar with at least that end of the lot. I've never gone anywhere past the house, but and I'm not personally friends or anything. I just want, you know, but I agree that having it appraised would be a piece of information. But the thing I don't understand, and clarify the process for me, we're the assessors. So if we deny it, then she can go to the Board of Appeals, right?
Board of Assessment.
Well,
Review.
right, the Board of
Yep.
Assessment Review.
so,
But if we table it, she goes back through.
well, that's procedurally, is there an option for table, or is it,
The-
I heard you say
Yeah.
if we do nothing, automatic.
Right, the only way you can go beyond the 60 days. That you have to act is if it's by mutual agreement. And 60 days is what?
Oh, the 25th,
I don't, yeah.
right?
Probably
those dates,
is.
I don't know. Does
Yeah.
it's 60 days from the application, not from the denial.
Right, because
60,
it hasn't
right.
really been denied.
So this says November 25th.
So that would be your next meeting. You
Yeah,
could,
so
you could
it's-
table it if you want, you're not, no one's gonna come in with an appraisal in the next
Yeah,
No.
that's.
2
the
weeks. I
policy.
don't believe, I mean.
That was kind of where I was getting at, is that, that this isn't the final stop, you know, essentially, if this body denies it, either by doing nothing or, you know, making a motion, she has recourse to do, you know, that
Right.
triggers the process of giving the time for her to gather more advocation for her perspective, rather than, you know, us bumbling around. It would hurt her, is what I'm hearing.
But it's in my mind that we would do nothing rather than have a vote on it.
But if we do nothing, then it doesn't officially go to the Board of Assessment.
Yeah, it won't go to the
You-
Board of Assessment.
Right, we
review
have to
until-
deny, we have to
Right.
deny.
Until, well, she'll have to apply to go to the Board of. Assessment.
Automatically denied after so many days, regardless of 60 days.
Yeah.
Right.
But I would encourage you to take affirmative action one way or the other. I obviously would encourage you to do what your hired assessor's agent recommends, but that's your choice. And if you want to do something, you know, arbitrary,
So the key message is it's not over, they have an option.
oh, it can go on
deny.
for long time
Okay.
in May.
So we could make a motion to deny with the hope that the understanding that the property owner has the ability to get a
Yeah.
fair market appraisal and go to the next step in the appeal process.
Yeah,
Right.
I understand it to be that it puts the responsibility back on the property owner to be an advocate, to gather. I mean, I think your suggestion is a good one. Get data, get something substantial rather than at least what she's presented here.
Okay. So with that in mind, does somebody make a motion?
I move that the board deny the abatement request of Jemina Lasansky, and that the letter of denial as prepared by the assessor's agent be sent.
Second,
Motion in second. Any other discussion? Seeing none?
And- Well, I think it's gonna. So because it comes from him, we can't ask him to
It's done, or
suggest. Okay,
We can cover the cover letter that goes back to her.
Yeah.
okay. I'd say that several of the board
Yep.
feel that it would be helpful if she got a fair market appraisal.
all in
Yep.
favor? And so we need one more motion to exit our five and board of stuff.
I move that we adjourn our meeting as the Board of Assessors and reconvene as the Select Board.
Second,
All in favor?
Thanks, Rosie.
Rosie?
Okay, moving ahead to a follow-up on Moody Mountain road vehicle limits.
At your last board meeting, several residents came forth to discuss their concerns regarding traffic on Moody Mountain Road. You asked us to do some research. Certainly, it's within the board's right and ability to post the road either permanently or seasonally. And that can be, you know, no food trucks, whatever or weight limit by your current ordinance, which we are not recommending. The road does not seem to be in any better or worse shape than miles of other roads that we have. The other option, it might assist, at least for honest drivers, would be to ask the Maine Department of Transportation to examine the speed limits. That was established with an effective date out there of 1972. You would say development patterns, uses of the road have changed substantially in the last years, that 53 years. And at least if we have a speed limit change, it's something that's relatively easily enforced by law enforcement if they are present, versus the weight limit that the Waldo County Sheriff's Office and state police won't enforce a weight limit on a local road, but put up by local ordinance. So.
No questions really, but the included minutes from previous conversations were really informative. And you know, certainly I wouldn't want this board to take any action that would be perceived as discriminatory against one particular type of motor vehicle traffic over another. But you know, recognizing, as David said, the many decades of change in development in traffic flow, it seems that a really good first step would be to ask for a traffic study to be done, because certainly we all know big vehicles can be operated safely on any given road. It's just at what speed and how obnoxious that feels. So that's where I'm leaning.
I was doing something, sorry. He never sees me.
I know, you're someplace over on my left side, maybe. How can, yeah, let's go.
I was looking at some resources online and on the state website, and the speed limit thing, I feel like in reality, it does nothing to help the problem, because we don't have a police department in our town, and we already know that the Waldo County Sheriff's enforcement of some speed limits on a couple of roads in Lincolnville is going to be really, really close, if not at the bottom of their list. So getting them to come and do that is going to kind of be an exercise in futility, I think, as far as really helping the residents or anything. On the state website, the one thing that they talk about on kind of local roads is the idea of speed humps as opposed to speed bumps, which are different. And that resonated with me because I've been 2 different places in the last 8 months in New Hampshire and Massachusetts that had these speed humps on the roads where, you know, it's a angled up and then you've got like 15 feet and then it angles back down, and it's enough of an angle thing that, you know, it accommodates the length of most vehicles, and it makes you go slower to go over that, and then you gradually are speeding up, but then there's another one. And I'm not saying we would ever do this without engaging the community and, you know, consultants that know what they're doing, but I just know it is something that has worked other places, and you know, it could bring the average speed down to more like, you know, 30 or 35 instead of 60. And I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, that's a great idea, but like, unfortunately, it's town owned road, right? It's not state.
No, well, actually, that's the fortunately.
Okay.
If it was a state road, we wouldn't be able to even entertain the notion, really.
But, well, I
But
guess,
town roads, if they're local roads, like they're not the numbered routes. If the town wants to have an ordinance. Putting something like that
Hmm.
on a stretch of road. According to what I found on the state website. It gives the town protection. It's not considered a hindrance to. Travel on the road if it's something that's supported by an ordinance, and you can, we do have the power as a town to say we want to do. You
No,
know.
no,
these
yeah, no,
structures, so-
yeah, no, I understand that and I agree with that, but it's a matter of how do we pay for that from the town on road? And, I mean, I'm with Lately on having this, to me, that's the only thing we can do is to have the DOT. Do a road assessment, speed assessment, whatever it's called. I would not have a problem whatsoever getting behind an effort to have traffic calming measured on Lincolnville Road. Do the people want to pay for that? I have no idea. Well, let's put it to them. Yeah, I totally get that. And I don't think it's a bad thing for the town, land use committee, whomever, to work through an ordinance along those lines.
Sounds like something that should be brought up during our priorities workshop.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
Any other comments?
Well, I'm just a little concerned that this has turned into a speed issue. And I know that you've seen the emails and hopefully the video that we presented last meeting. And I don't know what some other people from our road might have sent for emails, but the issue isn't speed limits. We've already got a posting of 40 miles an hour. And we all know that people don't follow the speed limits. And another assessment, another survey is not going to work. However, there are some areas like where Andreoni's live, there are a couple of hills that could be maybe have a sign, a narrow road, because that area is treacherous right there. If you meet it, you know. So we all know that everywhere speeding is an issue. We're not going to stop it. We had a chief of police and 19 deputies at one time, and nobody can stop the speeding. It's going to happen. So the issue is oversized trucks on undersized locally funded roads. Now you already seasonally post it. We don't have enforcement during the seasonal posting, other than the selectmen's signatures on the signs. And we trust that the honor system that is used then would work on a permanent posted road year round. It's all about the honor system. And it's not only a Moody Mountain Road issue, as Mike stated in the minutes at the last meeting, it's a town-wide issue. It's Moody Mountain Road, it's all the way up to Searsmont. Searsmont has a problem with it. And we kind of hope that you would work with Searsmont a little bit on this too, because over the years, they've wanted to work with Lincolnville on that road for the same reasons that we're here to talk about today. But we got High Street, Youngtown Road. There are more roads than our road. And we just hope that we can have some kind of a solution, because this issue's been brewing for decades, as you know. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments, questions? Possibility?
Yeah, I'm not gonna make the motion because I can't find it on the machine here. You can find it easier on your printed, in a piece of paper. But I'd like to support that motion because I think it would, even though there is a risk. Yeah, oh, yeah. Thank you. Even if-
Asking you shot it.
Yeah, right, like, from heaven. Yeah, even though, like, yeah, there is a risk that the speed limits could go up, eh? But, I think it's the first necessary step to trying to tackle this problem. And, I also think we should put it on, our ever-growing priorities workshop list and have that discussion. Like, maybe it's, I think it is actually a good time for this town to say, okay, so are we more than just a darn pass-through? And how can we control, at least make it a little easier for people who live through to deal with that? And if that's speed humps or whatever they're called, cool. And if people want to pay for that, fine. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. I'll make a motion. I'm gonna make a motion. I move that the existing speed limit of 40 miles an hour for the Moody Mountain Road between the Hope Road and High Street feels unsafe, and that the select board sent a letter to the Mid-Coast Region Traffic Engineer for the Maine Department of Transportation requesting that a study of the existing speed limit be conducted.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All good?
I don't.
I mean,
No?
no,
Okay.
and
uh,
I just don't think I think it's a waste of the state's time, because I don't think changing the speed limit is gonna change the problem.
So. We will move on to item number 10.
Yeah.
This is a follow-up regarding the bonfire decision. What was by the sea.
Thanks, David.
You asked the last meeting after Mr. Young made his request, with the bonfire that we reach out and get some more information. We communicated with our folks at Risk Management, at our insurance, who I'll just summarize a brief paragraph and just says, please note the property and casualty pool coverage document does not include any restrictions related to the town hosting a bonfire celebration. However, we recommend town obtain necessary permits and implement appropriate fire safety measures to help ensure public safety. I spoke with the fire chief regarding the public safety aspects beyond fire and embers going away. There was a concern about if somebody should happen to push, fall, trip, whatever into a fire. He recommended a physical barrier between the crowd and the fire itself, but that's where we stand. So you can obviously allow a responsible party to have a fire on the town's property, and the town, not the responsible party, the town will be covered by insurance.
Mr. Young, you have something you'd like to touch?
Curious, how was my name spelled last month?
Too old.
Historically, Y-O-N-G-E was when the Anglos and the Saxons came in, and then with the Norman invasion, it became Yong, and then eventually Y-O-U-N-G with an E, and then that got dropped too. So spell it however you guys want. No restrictions on a fire. I'm gonna put forth a proposal that it become a town event. We have received legal and insurance advice to not touch this by any individual unless the permit is taken out by the town of Lincolnville. According to lawyers and liability experts, active negligence is what's described that could be suing anybody involved with a bonfire. Our hope is that the permit would be taken out by the town of Lincolnville with responsible parties in conjunction with the fire department if they are so moved to do so. And I can't commit them, obviously. That we begin to look for some other way of doing this. Last year I had, or for the last 8 or 9 years, people saying you're a fool for doing this. I dropped out of it. Eddie O'Brien did it, Breyer and Aaron did it. I've come back in the picture and I'm still a fool. And this year, after listening to an actual lawyer say, you can't do this. And why isn't the town doing this? I'm gonna put it out there. What can we do as a town to own this event? It goes back to the seventies. We thought it started in the late eighties. Apparently, this goes back to the early seventies with Bill Monroe cutting down a tree, hauling it down there. Albert Matheson having a supply of bulbs, putting them up with Leo Mills, and caroling started at some point. The bonfire is attributed to the Graham brothers. For those who remember George and Bob, and things have just, it's been a community event, for 50 years. And unfortunately, in the age of liability and responsibility and all of that, but there's just something in that act of me putting my name onto something. And as far as a physical barrier to the fire, it's called heat. When we light the bonfire, people have to stand 100 feet back because there's too much heat. And as it slowly gets smaller, people get closer and closer. And then when it's down to a smaller fire, there's a bunch of responsible adults there may be kids and teenagers there, but there's always responsible adults that are overseeing it. So there's no jumping over the fire, which I remember as a teenager at the private bonfires we had. Kerner may remember some too. It's a responsible event. But I guess we need to craft some new method of doing this that doesn't put a member of the town at risk for liability, which could include an accident in the parking lot. There's so many different layers to this. We have the town that takes care of the Christmas tree. We got town fire trucks that come into the town parking lot. We got volunteers that are caroling and doing the bonfire, and there used to be the hay rides. And when the hay rides were happening, Waldo County Sheriff's Department used to show up with flashing lights down there at the intersection and such. I guess, is there some way that this can take on a new life where individuals aren't forced to accept responsibility for a town event? So
my first thought here is, number one, this hasn't been a town event ever. And if you look at Christmas by the Sea in general, it's not a Camden event either. There's no, and they hold events on town property in Camden, etc. It doesn't therefore become a town event. I'm not against it potentially becoming a town event now at some point. I don't think we have time at this point in the game to consider it for the year we're in. Similar to what
last year.
Last year's chair Dunn said, we should have been working on this year last year at this time. And I think that definitely needs to be taken into account now. How can we get through what we need to this year? And if the right group of people want to come together, there's opportunity to discuss options for the future. Is my initial thought.
Yeah, and obviously I think, being careful how we invoke the town, but in the legal sense of the town. I wouldn't advocate for the town getting involved with this at all. I would advocate for a citizens group like the LIA or any other independent organization that happens to be within the town of Lincolnville, made up of Lincolnvillers or anybody else that wants to join. Take this on and work with us to coordinate it happening safely and responsibly. Yeah, I just think getting the town as in the legal sense of the word would make it both impossible and far too cumbersome.
Like to follow up on the town. I would hate to see 5 people here deciding for the town, if it's going to assume liability and risks, many layered as they are, right? I mean, this is what town meetings are for, to see if the whole town wants to take on the risk. And that's gonna take a heck of a long time to make happen. And to get it before for the people there. So, I mean, if it's the case that, yeah, there's a bunch of people who want to come to this group. And we could maybe recommend that if we see that, you know, due diligence work has been done on the issue, yeah. And get a warrant. But otherwise, like, let's deal with what we gotta deal with now. Let's save Christmas for 2 years in a row. And then maybe something will happen after that. But I just don't see how it's on the board to make that happen. It's a group of citizens to make that happen. Working with the board.
I guess I pretty strongly disagree because the Maine Municipal Risk Management Services says that our property and casualty pool coverage does not include any restrictions to hosting a bonfire, and they recommend we obtain permits. We're like 2 days short of a month before the event. It's hard to believe we couldn't obtain necessary permits over the
I
course.
don't think
of a
any,
month.
we're not saying you can't have bonfires.
Oh, no,
Well, no, but
We're
there's been a
saying-
lot of talk about how, oh, the town, you know, we're in the same place we were last year. We're not. We have almost a month. Last year, it was a matter of a few days.
Same time,
Oh, it
Well-
was,
because it was being advertised. Last year.
Last year, we found out about a week and a half before the event, we needed landowner permission. That was a brand new wrinkle last year that none of us anticipated. Came to you literally couldn't even get on the agenda for that meeting at the end of November, just before Thanksgiving. Agenda was set Thursday. We find out from Donnie on a Monday or maybe that morning. I think it was that morning. I talked to you and didn't know about land. We needed a signature from the town, and within an hour, all of a sudden we needed a signature from the town just for permission to have the permit. And I guess this is the part. It's like, we got a group of volunteers that will do it. Whether it's a town event or not, is the town willing to put its signature on the burning permit then? Or find some way to waive the need for a signature with the town for the burning permit. Or authorize Dave to put his signature on the burning permit, because nobody wants to put their name on the burning permit. Has anything happened in 50 years of bonfires? Nothing. But now that we're all becoming aware that by signing that burning permit, we are the ones all of a sudden that somebody comes over the crest of the hill, sees a bonfire, gets in an accident, wants to sue the bonfire, you know, I don't know where this can go. It's stuff that we never thought about 30 years ago, 20 years ago, started to get talked about 10 years ago, and now is really being talked about. No one wants to put their signature on that piece of paper because they are assuming liability for an event that, whether it's an official town event or not, people know about the Lincolnville bonfire, and it's on the town of Lincolnville property. That uses the town of Lincolnville Christmas tree, the town of Lincolnville parking lot, the town of Lincolnville's fire engines. What's the solution to bypass a signature so that nobody has to assume responsibility?
Violate state law,
well, but
which is what the burn permit is. That's what you're asking somebody to do by not signing a burn.
this says the town obtain all necessary permits. Can't someone, and it sounds like what you're saying is that no one can sign on behalf of the town and have the town still be covered under this, that anyone who signs it is then personally liable. When you're saying nobody's going to want to sign it, that's
I didn't say that. He said that.
Oh,
And he
okay.
said that.
okay.
I was volunteering David to sign it.
So the trick here, though, read through an elected representative's eyes, where within Marcus's email states that we recommend the town obtain all necessary permits and implement appropriate fire safety measures to help ensure public safety. That is an exceptionally weighted statement, which assumes town office staff time, town office staff management. I mean, do we want to basically direct David to be down there in a safety vest with how many other people, does this board then need to have an agenda item to discuss how many people we need to have for us to deem it safe? I mean, it's all well and good for this individual to say that, but that implies town office staff time, town office staff planning, execution of these unknown appropriate fire safety measures to help ensure public safety, none of which we have a plan for in the next month. And we do have a plan for everything else that the taxpayers have already told us to tell them to be doing, not to mention all the other emergency things. So basically to like throw the emergency brake on going 90 down 95 to make this happen this year, I feel is irresponsible.
We're talking an event that takes 5 or 6 hours one time. And we have a fire chief and I guess I don't understand. You make it sound like we're gonna be making Kayla and Karen and David and the town office staff are gonna have to do all this stuff. I think that's a little disingenuous. We do have a fire department that,
And you're going to
they're the
presume
ones
on their time?
for one event for 5 hours. I don't think that's an unreasonable thing to ask. Yeah. And I think it's doable with 3 weeks and 5 days. It's my opinion. So that's all.
Okay, Mr. Lee.
If we're able to talk to the fire chief and find volunteer firemen that are willing to hang out by the fire and put out the fire, is that something that would, those are a couple of ifs, have the town sign the burning permit? I know I'm asking a lot of you guys. I don't like these questions. I don't like the answer, which is no bonfire. You know, it's something that's had as many as 400 people sitting around that thing at times. You know, usually 150 to 200 to 250. I mean, it's a pretty good sized crowd for Lincolnville for 4 hour event. It's just, how do we wrangle and find a way to do this?
The unfortunate truth, though, is that if the fire chief would agree to taking some of his resources, I say some of the resources because there will have to be other resources ready to actually respond to an actual emergency should it come up. There's so many critical ifs. We couldn't make a motion here tonight.
To commit that, yeah, I get that. So,
And so then we're put back at the 24th. And if he says no, then what? Then we're right back where we were last year. Again, it's just, there's not enough time for the town in our cumbersome bureaucratic process and doing right by our taxpayers to hang our hats on one sentence from the Maine Municipal Association. I mean, their advice is great, but it's, you know, I don't want to even say it out loud, but also, you know, it is Christmas by the sea. And we need to be representative of all people and all faiths and all celebrations, and the town cannot start signing on to a Christmas by the sea event. You roll your eyes.
I do, because Christmas by the sea is not, Christmas is not celebrated in a religious context. This is not, I don't think this is a separation of church and state issue at all. For a bonfire on a.
if I could
beach.
interject, we have our pagan contingent
Oh.
that also comes to the bonfire.
My point is that the rules that we have
And
to live
Santa's
and die
coming.
by are,
Santa's not religious.
that's your perspective, but you're an elected official and you're part of an elected body that is here to represent everyone in Lincolnville. And I'm glad that you have that perspective. I happen to share that perspective. That the commercialized Christmas is, but for some people, that's not true. And So we have to be you can have your opinion, but we also have to consider everybody else that we were elected to represent. And so your personal opinion is great. Like I feel like it has become just, a wonderful jolly time, and Christmas, the word Christmas gets thrown around. But like all things that we are tasked to do, we have to be very careful.
The tree that the town takes care of and puts lights on, what's the name of that tree?
The LIA's Christmas lights that go on the tree?
That you oversee with?
Nope,
Not anymore?
nope. Haven't done that in years, and when I did, it was a volunteer effort, had no association
Had
with the
no
town.
association with the town. Who pays the power bill? You
Who's
digging
ever
yourself-
stealing the power
If
from
I may
us?
say just one thing, I feel this is number one, this is not the place to argue anything to do with religion. We need to be neutral, and I will work very hard for us to remain that way. You are all entitled to your opinion, and I respect that. I have my own. But I don't want to sit here and argue about whether one person is going to be offended or whatever. It's something we shouldn't even have to consider. That is a given. Okay? We could say it 100 times. We had this conversation last year.
Mhm.
You better get it on your agenda.
Yeah.
Early in the year, and this is not early in the year.
Yeah.
It is dubbed as a town event. It happens in Lincolnville. It is not a town of Lincolnville sponsored event.
Mhm.
A lot of people have helped over the years. Select board members have helped over the years. But it's not a Lincolnville sponsored event. Is there anybody here that doesn't want it to happen? No. But we've got to find common ground, and someone needs to take the bull by the horns. And I feel that I can safely say that it's not going to be one of your municipal officials. It was known last year that this was coming this year. You and I have had many conversations. We've laughed a lot. But Andy, I can't figure out how we are gonna take away the problems that there are in this event.
Yeah, so for
Okay.
next year, we'll be more proactive on that. I mean, it just. Stuff gets ahead of us. So for this year. Did I hear there was an understanding the permission would be given like last year if we can find some fool that's willing to put the permit in his name, her name?
My understanding from when I walked in here, read the materials we had, was that we were in a better place because we did hear Maine Municipal say that we were covered based on something happening on our property. But I didn't read from this that we were going to sign or we were going to authorize a town official to sign a permit.
Oh, no, I asked that specifically.
Exactly. So if, as you just said, if some fool, but if some person, a representative of the community that's working with this event wants to move forward with this, I personally see no concern. And I think probably this board is ready to move forward to approve that event could still occur with somebody in the community being the person working fire department to make that.
The letter that Dave presented to me last year from the town. Was that made out to me specifically, David, or just to whoever was gonna take out the burning permit?
I don't recall. Okay, sorry.
Was it the responsible party?
I think it did end up going to you or naming you in it.
That's what I'm trying to remember, if it just said whoever
I
here's
think,
the information
yeah.
for whoever takes out the burning permit.
yeah, no, I think it was after you had met with the fire chief and he told me that you knew what needed to be done in order to have a fire that would comply with the state's burn permit rules, and I wrote that note. And I believe I had your name in it so that you could actually, should somebody question you on being on town property lighting up a fire, you'd have a piece of paper. but I wouldn't bet my life on it.
Do we have that same understanding again this year?
Not yet.
So that's.
We're working towards it.
Okay,
If anyone would like to make a motion.
I got a question.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that you know that having the town sponsor this event this year is off the table.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Good. I don't mind you having on.
I might be foolish to put my name on that paper, but I'm not foolish enough to not hear what you guys.
Okay, thanks.
I would love to make a motion.
Please do.
I move that the select board authorize the town administrator to write a letter authorizing the use of town-owned land in Lincolnville Beach between the granite seawall and the high water mark on Saturday, December 6th, 2025, by a responsible party for a Christmas by the Sea bonfire, provided the responsible person obtain a burning permit and any other authorization necessary. Further, the responsible party will see that all associated activities be conducted in a careful and prudent manner, following all rules and regulations set forth by the state of Maine, the Maine Forest Service, any forest ranger, and the town forest fire warden or Lincolnville Fire Chief. Furthermore, the responsible party agrees to attend the fire at all times, completely extinguish the fire at the end of the event, and remove and dispose of in a legal manner all debris that remains after the fire is extinguished by no later than December 8th, 2025.
And I'll second.
Seconded, any further?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like all of this, you covered a lot of ground. And I feel like this is a really wonderful, beautiful event that happens in our town. And I'm grateful to you that you're willing to try to keep that flywheel kicked over. And I would really love to see between now and midsummer conversations with the board about how we can work together to make this.
Well, I'm gonna ask that be on the next selectmen's agenda.
Yeah, let's-
That, I mean, obviously, you know, that we start that ball rolling now, whether this goes under the rec committee or whatever it ends up doing. We start that now and just not say sometime in the future.
Yeah.
I'm on the appeals board, the land use committee, the comprehensive planning committee.
Yeah.
You know, those things just take up time. And before you know it, here we are again. And
Yeah.
it's like, how did 11 months go by?
Yeah.
So I would ask that this start being kicked now, to look at it, whether it's its own committee or whether it's part of a rec committee or something like that. So.
Yeah.
Uh,
So thank you for being here and, and thank you for, and when it's dark and cold, these sort of celebrations are important, but.
I would add a comment there before we vote on. I had lunch with Michelle Curtis recently, who's on the Christmas by the Sea group that runs the whole thing. And she's very interested in being part of talking with a group that does this, and so it becomes a permanent aspect of it as well. So
Social
I
media,
think
banker
it
on
could
the
be
move.
bigger than just Lincolnville, baseball for that Christmas by the Sea.
There's independent nature to people in Lincolnville. This event predates Christmas by the Sea. And every time Christmas by the Sea tries to come in and do something, there are people in the community that get really upset and say, no, we do our own thing. If you want to put us in the brochure, great. That's not me. I don't have that attitude. I try to, but.
Yeah.
So with that behind us, all in favor? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Andy.
I'm sorry to put you guys through all that.
No, you did.
I was advised I had to ask all those questions. So.
Be advised.
Thanks, man.
Thank you very much.
Be careful of your phone, Andy. Be careful of your phone.
I checked the phone to see if it was still on.
Oh, boy.
Next item on our agenda is use of Google Docs by council release. It came up as a result of discussion around the use of Google Docs within the comprehensive plan review. Did you want to share summary of this?
Sure.
So, Lincolnville is, use of Google Docs or anyone's use of Google Docs is appears to be slightly ahead of the regulators or the state law regarding the Freedom of Access Act. And there has yet to be a court decision on it. We obtained a opinion of Susan Pilgrim, who's the staff attorney at MMA, regarding it. You can see she kind of walks the fine line or the edge. Not telling you it is, but not telling you it isn't. And she did say in her end that she would reach out to the Attorney General's office, the ombudsman program there. And if she hears something back, would let me know. And as of late this afternoon, I have nothing else to share on that. Also shared it with the some colleagues, one of which had obtained a opinion from a different staff attorney at MMA who was a little more direct, saying that they thought that use of Google Docs, if it didn't violate the intent, violating the spirit, whatever. So you're open. It's not as clear and cut and dry as it could have. Maybe should be.
Well, Steve, I was gonna ask you, just reading the meeting minutes, in your discussion, in the committee's discussion, it seemed, that a number of the group members, agreed that, keeping the chapter review in the committee meetings rather than through the Google Docs promotes really good live group discussion and is healthy for the accuracy of in the consensus of change recommendations. I understand that MCOG folks feel like that's not as efficient.
Correct, right, so we discussed it last meeting that. I would say the majority of the committee is in alignment with MCOG's recommendation that the chapter commentary edits to the chapter materials are done online in advance of the meetings, and that the focus of the meeting be on the goals and implementation strategy portion for more bread and butter, what's going to there, like I said, it's the majority. There's some that don't agree with that. They'd like to discuss the chapter. I would say that from 4 months ago, 5 months ago till now, the amount of discussion that takes place has probably gone from a lot to almost or nil. And why I say that is, instead of 4 months ago, person A saying something and person B saying something against it, and person that's kind of gone away. And now it is comment being provided back to MCOG. And MCOG is not responding back with their opinion, and other people aren't opining. And so 4 months ago, I would say at first glance, this was probably distinctly going against what at this point, it's probably right on the edge. It's a interesting thought. Susan, would you like to step up and share your thoughts on that? I think it might be valuable.
I've got a question for you first.
Yes,
Susan, I hate to keep you standing there. But did you get any sense in your committee meetings from either committee members or MemCog. If this new model that MMA is suggesting, would slow things down considerably. Sounds as if you're saying it wouldn't, because there isn't much discussion about that. The discussion is going pretty quickly.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think we could adapt right now. At the same time, I mean, there is a question sometimes posed and somebody answers it and everybody can see it.
Hmm.
But it's not this free for all.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it seems to me more of a if there'd be a problem, facilitation matter than anything else.
I think it is facilitation. It's taken us a little while to learn what our job is. When we talk about the chapter is really inventory. So that's data and analysis, none of which is a matter of anyone's opinion, really. All the data sources are listed. The analysis is done by scientists. The important thing, and as Steve says, the bread and butter comes down to the goals and implementation strategies. That's where we weigh in. Our job really isn't to make this up or make decisions. We're there as all of us as a sounding board to represent local knowledge. So where we're starting to realize where our value is in saying, well, actually the name of that road, those roads are these, it's not just state roads, we have names for these roads in our town. It's little things like that we are trying to give some flavor from local knowledge of how things are. But it's really, I think we're learning, everyone, and particularly the people who are new, hadn't been there for the last 4 years, thought they were going to start looking at every chapter and though we were rewriting it or creating it, and that's not the case. And I think gradually people have come to realize that there's new laws that are governing what the state requires. None of us are experts on the Growth Management Act. And there's new data and new data sources. We've done our best as a volunteer lay committee to come up with inventory, but it wasn't adequate. And we're now being given material that's done by professionals, but they're not dictating what the goals and strategies are going to be. That's where we come in. So it's much more effective to spend our time looking at those goals and strategies. Otherwise, if particularly people new to the process wanted to start from the beginning and read everything aloud in the meeting instead of using Google Docs, it would take an extra year or so. And that would be a major expense to the town to extend that contract.
Questions? I think, this has been really valuable to get this information from MMA and being on the committee. I've raised this question early on with David, probably in July, I think. Do you think as long as we make the committee aware of this finding, we can even share this letter, etc., with the committee, to know that discussion can't happen on. And so in the comments, if Wilson puts forward X and person B puts a comment back to that, that's the end of it. It doesn't turn into discussion. And I think that's part of where our summary from our workshop of do not apply all, and that do not apply all also includes your commenting in a Google Doc. That's essentially reply all, and that's been, like I said, I think it was probably a problem. We don't think it is right now.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add is that part of the reason it's not a problem now is that I think I'd like to think that we have all started to trust the process a little bit more. And rather than jumping in and try to argue with each other, everything's so interesting. We all want to chew on it and argue about it and discuss it. But I think we started to come to trust this process with some very able consultants.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, you know, the law clearly recommends erring on the side of caution. But I would say my concerns were really significantly alleviated after our workshop and everyone being in the same, you know, just everyone really being on the same page. And I think your suggestion of sharing this information with the review committee will be great, just as a kind of keeping it in the back of everyone's mind. But I feel like after your summary of what we discussed, I think everybody's really clear on the right way to approach this. And unless the Attorney General comes back with some sort of real clear something, I feel like we're being as responsible to the spirit of the law as we can. Without shooting ourselves in the foot for efficiency's sake.
Other comments or questions on this item? Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent. Moving forward. Item number 12. Discussion regarding housing legislation.
So you want me to?
Sure.
Bet you do. So this past legislative session, at least 3 bills were passed that address housing issues, which in all likelihood will require amendments to our land use ordinance at different times, but at some point in the future. Actually, one's already gone by. And it's likely that the state's going to have a grant program available in January to assist in paying for that work. We don't have any choice. I mean, if we're gonna follow the law, we're gonna follow the law and make amendments to the ordinance. I think I've suggested that perhaps we pull our land use committee that's been working on the moratorium ordinance and waiting on a legal review to see if those people wish to continue and create a charge and be lined up so that when the grant becomes available, we can be in line to apply for it, hopefully obtain it, and hopefully get the amendments prior to the deadlines. I will say that there are a number of changes that are fairly substantial to Lincolnville's ordinance, taking some things out of the control of the planning board and putting it to code enforcement officer review. Some parking changes that are a little maybe more unique towards larger communities with remote parking. We'll work through it.
Yeah, the only question I'm sorry. Oh, did I jump on? I'm sorry. Oh, okay, yeah, the only question I had, David, have we established like contact with the MoCA office on this? You got a letter from them. We've had conversations with MoCA about what they can do to help us maybe get this grant. What steps we have to go through?
No, I have not had any direct communication with anybody about the grant.
Well, the reason I ask you that, I just wonder if it'd be helpful to have that kind of conversation with them prior to talking with members of the land use ordinance committee here. So we're able to let them know, this is what it looks like. This is what you might have to be doing.
Yeah, I think one of the first, I definitely think it would be helpful. I don't want to get, I like to be ahead of you, but not too far ahead of you, and start reaching out about various and sundry things. I think this is something that we might even ask the land use committee to assist us in preparing the grant application, but we don't yet know what the grant application is going to look like. Is it going to be, 1 paragraph a deck whip up in 30 seconds, or is it gonna be 30 pages that I'll pull my hair out if I can get hold of it? The other thing is we're rapidly entering into the time of year where our volunteers really like to take time off until the new year, but so I think we can get some things rolling and perhaps assign some things in the charge itself to the land use committee. Assuming if they're not willing to take it on, the obvious place for change is with the land use committee. That's what our charter says thou shalt do. So if the current membership isn't willing to take on that responsibility, then some of them may want to, fade off into the sunset. And we may need to find some more new people. But I've also been a number of people on the land use committee. I'm gonna keep talking so Steve doesn't. Have come to me and told me that they thought they did a very productive job working together with various thoughts and opinions. And they were wondering what their next assignment might be. So
There you go.
we may have some live ones ready to go.
So I wondered, would it be appropriate to just have a motion to the effect of the various things that Dave brought up?
Like create a charge now?
Yeah.
Asking David to draft the charge?
Yeah, that I would say that I would suggest that we move to create a charge to the land use committee specific to this recent legislation, and to see if to ask the town administrator to reach out to the current land use committee members regarding their interest in ongoing commitment, and that we prepare for possible grant applications to fund the work.
Second.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's done. No, I think it's what we gotta do, but I also tend to think. It's kind of a broad motion. And I would like to see the land use committee focus on nothing but the grant application. Not getting into the weeds about how this affects Lincolnville. Because because of minimal lot size, loss of planning board power, etc. The spirit of home rule, whatever the hell that is, that type of thing. So I like to make sure that charge is focused.
Yeah,
On making sure we get some money by the end of January.
yeah, but I think if we can sort of concurrently move those 3 tracks forward, then hopefully the Venn diagram will overlap in a really nice and significant way.
Cool, as long as we get the money by January, by February, we're good. Yeah.
But, I feel like if we can empower our town office and our land use committee to get going on it
Yeah.
with the full support and authorization of the board, then that seems like
I entered this evening thinking we could do the same. I've heard many members of the land use committee say that I see the current charge through to the end, which is still got a while going. But I love the idea of expanding their charge now to add that. People. All in favor of the motion? Along to item 13. Regarding proposal for engineering services for our new McKay Road.
Didn't know if you want to talk tonight or not. So the board. After the community acquired the parcel adjacent to the boat launching ramp. Select board asked that we had a discussion about obtaining a proposal to take us to the next phase, which would be environmental permitting of the work. Basically be creating a preliminary or better than conceptual, but not a plan that you can actually use to build something, seek bids with. So we've spoke with the folks at Gartley and Dorsey because they'd helped us do our due diligence work with environmental issues. And we have a proposal from them for the to develop the permitting for the shoreline stabilization and the permitting drawings for the boat launch and ramp. It's within the money that were appropriated a couple of years ago by town meeting, but we were waiting till we actually acquired the land. Everybody's good with that. Good.
Looks good to me. I move to authorize the town administrator to accept the McKay Road shoreline and boat launch proposal from Gartley and Dorsey dated November 5th, 2025.
Second.
Using second, any further discussion?
Yeah, the only question I have is for Dave. It has to do with the grant applications. I see the deadlines
Coming.
late January, yeah,
Yep.
late January. How are we doing on that? Because that seems like
Well, they haven't,
the way we might get the sucker funded.
they haven't come out with the request for applications yet.
Okay.
But we have started, as you can tell, we've started our search for grant monies to potentially fund either a construction or maybe even design
Uh-huh.
work. And this was the first one that we uncovered as a potential. It's the Maine Public Working Waterfront Infrastructure Fund. I think there are others out there, but this one coming. So stay tuned. I mean, I don't know when they're thinking that according to this, the grant applications will come out in late January. And then I don't know how long their process, how long that will be open. I think you do get a leg up. They won't go back and fund anything you've already paid for. They wouldn't fund the purchase, so they're not gonna fund this Gartley and Dorsey work. But I think you do get a leg up if you actually are more towards shovel ready than you would otherwise.
Okay, thanks. Thanks.
All in favor of the motion forward? Next item, availability,
Yeah, I brought this up to David a week ago, asking him at the very last minute to put this on the agenda so we could have a little conversation about it, because at the time, a week ago, as is a much different landscape than it is now, as far as SNAP, LIHEAP, et cetera. And that doesn't mean, unfortunately, that we might not be in the same position again. The time in end of January, no, December, or whenever. Could be sooner than later, who knows? And consequently, it appears to me that we should be able to prepare, have something, a plan in preparation. So if it does hit the fan or barn door, that we're able to offer these, let these people know, hey, general assistance could be the front line for you to get SNAP benefits, food assistance. And consequently, I was hoping that we could have a conversation or something similar on getting to learn how ZA works with the town and the state. And thank heavens, Kaylee has been sitting there for however long. And thanks very much, because you're going to school us. I really appreciate that. And yeah, I have a couple of few ideas that I think we should entertain, but just so we're ready in case, like I said, something goes south. And who knows, things go south really fast when it comes to assistance.
I know, I would love to ask Kayla to come up, and it'd be good to hear a quick summary of the offerings that you are managing. People that might watch this, they'll be able to hear it,
Yeah.
so re-educate us as well.
Sure. So there is the state general assistance program that we are required to offer. Every year, there are new income guidelines with that come out. We are reimbursed by the state 70% for any expenses through that program. I will say overall, I don't think Lincolnville has a huge need In this, since January of this year, I have had 2 housing requests that I've paid for. Since I've been here in 2017, I haven't done any food requests. I've had a few heating assistance requests during that time, but that was primarily when the price of fuel was a lot higher a few years ago. But I haven't found that there is a huge need. We do have a very supportive community. There are a lot of churches that offer assistance. Being in Lincolnville, we have Knox County that a lot of our residents can go to, as well as Waldo, because we're right on the edge. Both counties kind of take us. So I find there are a lot of other resources to help. I don't know, is there any other questions before I keep rambling?
Yeah, what does food assistance coming from the town look like?
So with the general assistance program, there are the income guidelines. So like a household of 1 person, you're looking at a maximum income of $1,117 a month. Unless it is considered an emergency situation, which would really have to be outside their control. There is a lot of personal responsibility that also goes with the general assistance program. You've gone and, spent a bunch of money on things that you shouldn't, and then come to me and say, oh, I'm really desperate. It's like, well, you kind of created your own emergency in that case. So that is part of the program and part of what we're supposed to look for. I'm supposed to be doing like vouchers for Hannaford, and there is a requirement on what they can buy. It has to be like the Hannaford brand or like the store brand. And it does kind of limit what they can get.
But is it a dollar figure that's
so
tied to your income level?
Yeah, so like, and it also depends on a couple of things. So if 1 person, let's say you come in with no income, 1 person would get $298 a month. And then I would put requirements on them where they would have to look for work, or if they're disabled, or a doctor says they cannot work, then they would have to provide me a doctor's note stating that they cannot work, how long they can't work. And I'd have to try to find other requirements. They are also telling us to kind of send people to food banks and other options first, kind of use up those resources. Because we do have some churches and stuff around as well that if I'm not able to assist, I can reach out to.
I got a question for you. I'm sorry, you don't? Yeah. Thanks. So if it turns out that in whenever, 6 months, a year, 2 months, we're like in a totally different position than we have been since 2017. And suddenly there's more than just 2 people, a lot of people requesting food and or fuel assistance through GA because SNAP may be lost or something. How do you think the town is prepared? You look really well prepared to deal with this. But we're kind of like a small town, and the numbers, and even though we're all friendly and all that stuff, that only lasts so long and goes so far.
Right.
And I mean, just when I did the numbers of the number of people, SNAP recipients in HD 40 in this district, congressional representative district they've got in Maine, it looks like there's close to around maybe 200 people just ballparking it, because it doesn't granulate to the town level that I can find. Anyway, if there are 200 people in town and suddenly they all show up at your office, within a week or something like that, how can we deal with it?
Right. Well, Karen and I are both able to do general assistance.
Okay.
But that would take quite a bit of resources from everything else. I mean, obviously payroll still needs to be done, the warrants still need to be done.
Yeah.
If it's during an election time, Karen still has to make sure all that's getting done. So, I mean, just like anything else, you kind of take what's the most,
Sure.
what we have to accomplish. Any general assistance application that comes in does have to be processed within 24 hours.
Yeah.
I normally try to kind of meet with them when they first come in. Once they hand it to me, I try to get the general information, the general feeling of the situation. And then I normally will send them off with some homework. If it's bank statements I need to see, or if it's, pay stubs that I need to see. I mean, normally you can get a pretty good understanding of somebody's situation based kind of off a conversation with them. So I try to do it relatively efficiently, because normally it always happens at, the absolute worst time when we're short-staffed and, there's, Friday afternoon and that kind of stuff. So I try to work it that way. If we were to get that much of an influx. The other thing with SNAP is SNAP has a much higher income guidelines than general assistance does.
Yeah, okay.
So there is still going to be people in that gap.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think seeing what's happened over the past month, there has been a huge community. I mean, I saw there was food over here at the school that they pulled together,
Right,
both of, I guess the big one, the Belfast Soup Kitchen and the AIO, I believe it is, both had a huge influx of donations and everything. So again, living in a community that does pull together, they seem to make happen what needs to happen. And I guess that's just kind of what you do. It's just like any other type of emergency per se. You make it happen.
Yeah, no, I'm not, I didn't bring this up to like turn it into a bureaucratic issue at all whatsoever.
Yeah.
However, I don't think it would hurt the however many people in town who might need to use GA for us to have a plan. How we like publicize it, as it were, and say, hey, you might want to come to the town office if you're don't have SNAP benefits or whatever, I don't think that would be hurt us at all. So that kind of advertise, we want to call it that, I think might be a very good idea. And I just kind of wanted us to I wanted to hear from Caleb. Thanks so much for coming.
Yeah.
But yeah, just so we have an idea of how things work,
Well, I do believe that if the benefits disappeared, I wouldn't be surprised to see a post by David Kinney on the local bulletin board, etc., letting people know.
I understand that there are a lot of those
And,
ways to get
sounds
that
like
out.
we
Sure.
You mentioned LIHEAP too.
Yeah.
Though, although we've only talked about SNAP here, but isn't LIHEAP, does LIHEAP have different rules than general assistance?
Yeah, so
Because
LIHEAP,
I worry
is-
about that one particularly. They were talking about it today on the news about how, even if it's funded, all of the workers at the federal level have been laid off that administered the program with the government staffing cuts this year. And so they were saying states, it's really up in the air how this money's even going to get to the states, and there could be huge delays. And I was just wondering, what the ramifications of
I
that.
find with
would be.
LIHEAP normally has quite a bit of delay anyway.
Okay.
In most cases, I mean, it's one of those that if somebody calls in November for an appointment, they're not really meeting with them until March or April in some cases.
That's disappointing.
It's done through the Maine Housing Authority, and then it goes to Waldo Cap. And Waldo Cap only has 2 or 3 people that do it at that level. They have done their applications online now, which seems to have gotten a little bit better. But again, in this past month, I haven't gotten any calls from anybody about LIHEAP or SNAP. So.
I feel like, thank you, Mike, for bringing this conversation up, because I also have been thinking, what can we be doing to either educate our public? Because I feel like, especially here in town, yes, we do have an amazing community that draws together, but as it's been brought up a number of times, we also are some stubborn, independent folk. And I know of some people who are, struggling, but I don't know, aren't aware that there are resources that they can reach out to. Because I think some folks are just used to like figuring it out on their own, and it wouldn't necessarily occur to call you or call the town office. And I'm just wondering if there's a way for us to do sort of a friendly PR kind of, hey, if you're, do you feel like you're struggling? I don't know what you all think about that, but I just feel like there are so many resources, whether it's from the town office specifically, or, just kind of creating a single piece or a flyer or printout of, hey, is it really hard right now? Are you struggling? Do you feel like you work to make all of this money and yet you just can't cover it all? Call this number. Yeah.
A lot of resources, and not just these resources, but other, family in town that I'm friends with, they were too stubborn to go out and look at food pantries, etc. And now they're like, for the amount of food they bring home from food pantries is amazing. And they, once they finally were willing to, that's 100% for a lot of people.
It is 100%.
So having some sort of resources list.
I also recommend, like, for some people, like, if you go and volunteer at like the Belfast Soup Kitchen, you're there helping, but then you also can have meals at the end and, get some food as well. So, if you don't want like just the handout per se, they do need the volunteers. My grandmother goes every Friday at 83 and helps at the soup cook. Yeah, just gets out and
Social.
stays active. Yeah, stays active.
Yeah.
So
what do we currently have on our website for this?
I think it's pretty much
I
just
think,
for general assistance.
Yeah.
Call me.
pretty limited.
What does the board think about kind of creating a little bit more of a,
Presence.
yeah,
I
like,
think that's a great idea.
Resources guide.
like more right up front on the main page, that's something, like friendly phone numbers. Here, you can talk to this person, and there's also, just to kind of put it right at people's fingertips a little bit more.
These next 2 months, I think it is waves on everybody. Getting up there.
Yeah, that would be great to get this from the top level of the website, as well as to compile that list. That list, AIO and others already have that list. That list has been generated. Yeah, and there are all these, places, all these resources.
Right.
But if we could provide that list as well,
Yeah.
it'd be good. And it occurred to me when you mentioned the PR campaign as it were. I think you should write it because such a great appeal that's made. But B, does the town have in its budget, the GA budget or anything, to provide for a mailing or something to that effect? Either electronic or paper. I know, of course, this is sad times, it has to be budgeted. I totally get that. I wonder, do we have those resources available? So I'll put that to you, David.
We certainly didn't plan on a mailer to everybody to tell them it's available.
No, that's an expensive option.
Right.
I'm not pushing that.
The press release.
I mean,
or
we
something.
could,
Yeah.
we can do something.
Send something out.
We'd have to get the resources guide kind of prepared before we can send it out, but
But we could, sort of not have to reinvent the wheel and use formats that.
right. I mean, we
other
already have
organizations-
in on the counter right now is the list of the food pantries in the region. So if somebody came in and didn't qualify for GA, we don't just say, oh, sorry, get out, it's, we try, and Kayla's very good at it, at helping people to identify other resources available to them. And each situation is unique. It's not 5 people coming in with the same problem. It's, my car broke down. I can't do this or whatever. And, I, need to get Junior a pair of boots to go to school because it's going to snow. And, so you could write something general, but still everything's going to be individual specific to that certain situation. But
Yeah, and I think like Waldo County Community Action Program has a lot of programs for like winterizing or helping of like with people's homes. I did send something out in the fall about the LIHEAP program when the new income guidelines and everything came out, because when I was looking at them, I was kind of surprised at, I guess, how generous in a way the income guidelines were for assistance. So I did put those out in the Google, and I think I did get some, when they came in to pay their taxes, they're like, what was that site again? So there was, you know, some people that didn't know about some of the programs. That may be a better way of going about it, just maybe putting out like on the Google group some of the additional programs that are around right now. While the Community Action Program is doing the Thanksgiving and the Christmas boxes, which I don't have many people that call me about them, but I know the school does. So like school hands out a lot of those applications and things, but maybe putting out a little bit more, hey, these are available if you need it, or.
I think, yeah, obviously the Google groups, we try to do as much of that as we possibly can, but I think if we just start with our site, our website, get it all together, maybe in, hey, assistance available here, something like that. I don't know. I'm not the guru who has got the words, but just have it placed top of the site. Like you said, Mike, you know, they see it whenever they go on the site. Then we can have the conversation about, do we want to spend the money on leaflets or whatever to go out, you know, something like that. But to start the ball rolling, let's get it on, get it collected, which is all there. We just got to get it all in one spot,
Right.
You know, to start with.
Yeah, well, but also I think it's just how you frame it, you know, and I think Kayla, you hit it on the head of the nail is, I think a lot of people operate within a certain income level and they just make it work. And they're not aware that by someone's definition that you're actually living under poverty, you know, and that, you know, that there are resources to help make it feel less stressful. And so it's like framing it in that way of like, hey, did you know if you make less than $25,000 a year, you know, there's help for you if you're looking for it, you know, call this number. It just, you know,
Yeah, because that's the thing with the general assistance. I find a lot of people think it covers higher incomes than it does. So a lot of people, I mean, most people that are on disability are over the income limit for our general assistance. I mean, in some instances, it fits that perfect, you know, I guess, needle on, but in a lot of cases, it's not as generous as a lot of the other programs that are out there.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I did check real quick just to refresh my memory what it looks like, but on our homepage, if you go to Town of Lincolnville, Waldo County Woodshed is right there on the homepage. So like right now on the homepage was like a notice about land use or something, and there was Waldo County Woodshed, and so something like that was right there on the homepage with the verbiage like you were talking about, that'd be great.
David, did you get anything additional from us on this?
I think you've given us a marching orders that we.
Don't want to make it too difficult, but I think we have some easy ways to publicize.
Well, we'll get it started and as you're, you know, as we roll things out and information, if you want more, if there's more things to add, just keep trying.
Thanks for bringing this topic up, Mike.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Have a
Kayla.
great night.
Thanks, Kayla. Bye, Susan.
Sam Stokock has submitted his resignation from the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee. That is pretty good. Somebody would like to make a motion first on that.
I move the board accept with regret the resignation of Sam Stopak from the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Thank you. Yes.
Was Sam considered a charter member?
Yes.
And so how do we handle that going forward?
That was gonna be my question next, was. We should. Entertain people to fill that charter member slot, and it could come from an existing. Overall ad hoc committee member or somebody else from the community.
Mhm,
And either way, I think we should maintain the total number, so
mhm.
we need to add one person. To the
Yeah, I didn't know, I mean, guess this being a unique situation, right? It's like, does someone just automatically group into a charter member? Or did someone need to fill out a community interest form to express interest in being a charter member?
Well, at this point, there's a vacancy of a regular member on the comprehensive plan review committee as defined in the town charter, because there were 5 and then 2 alternates. We do have 1 comprehensive plan review committee alternate. If we didn't have the ad hoc group, in the past, we've encouraged the person that was an alternate or one of the 2 alternates to say, hey, anybody want to be, you know, a regular? He'd use the word regular member. It seems like the other means they not regular. In this case, I think it would be important that we use our liaison with the comprehensive plan review committee, and I guess Susan Lapp, to just reach out to the various people that are on that committee and say, hey, Sam has resigned. There's now a open position on the thing. If you're interested, please let us know. I don't know if we need to really fill out another community interest form.
Do we have to offer it to
No.
the alternate first?
You're not required to.
Okay.
I think I would also encourage you to open it up to the, you know, no offense to the people that are already on the committee, but maybe none of them wants it. Throw it out to the world and say, hey, we've got these an opening on the comprehensive plan review committee. If you're interested, those people I'd ask to fill out a community interest form.
Okay.
But you can ask them, everybody, to fill out a community interest form if you want.
My hope was going to be. Going to Susan, as the chair of that committee, to publicize within the committee that. We need to. Fill that slot. And same time, we should. Put forth the community that we need another member. So we're looking for a +1 no matter what. And once the board has that information. We can then decision to have multiple people on the outside come forward. We need to get that information.
In the absence of the chair, I don't mind reaching out to the ad hoc and to the alternate and say, hey, Sam Sopek's resigned. There's now vacancy. I believe his term went through June. I'm not mistaken. Or did I write that?
He did.
Oh. I still believe it goes through June. You know, and then obviously you can do what you want come next year. And then I'd put it out to the world again and say, hey, we've got open. Were there any? I'm trying to remember back when you did appointments, if there were any people, you can reach back out to those people too, if there were more people than you wanted to appoint. I can't remember. So I'll just leave that one alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 2-step effort, 1 step to the existing committee.
Yep.
Members, and then number 2. So that.
Yep.
And then once we have that information on future agenda, we can.
Okay.
Excellent. Moving forward, item number 16.
The fire chief came in to speak to me the other day and expressed concern about people parking at the center fire station. Oddly, and some not necessarily, you know, not necessarily parked in front of the bay doors, but impacting what he saw the appropriate use for fire station parking lot would be. Wanted to know what could or should be done. You know, people leaving their car there all day. Really? Yeah. Yeah.
So just random folks or?
Well, you know, hey, I'll meet you. I'm just
Right.
making the situation up. Hey, I'll meet you in Lincolnville. I'll park it, you know, pick me up at the fire station. You know, there's a big paved lot. Well, that all works well and good until you have a training exercise that evening and you invited Camden and Hope and Northport to come, and then there's no parking and you've got hoses laid out and trucks there, and then somebody says, well, I need to get my car. You know, what do you do? So he said, I'd like to, you know, put some signage up. You think I ought to get board approval? And I was working on the agenda. So it's like, yeah, why don't we just tell the board we're gonna do this and see if they squawk. Yeah.
So do we have striped parking spots down there?
We do not.
Okay. So simple signs that would say no parking, authorized vehicles only, violators will be towed and covered. I can't believe people are, although I have reached out to chief a couple of times coming home. One time I just couldn't believe this. There was a motor home with a covered trailer parked, headed out in front of the fire department, unloading motorcycles. And I'm like, did you authorize this? He goes, no, what is this? And I said, it's in front of the fire department. And I said, do you want to come up and talk to this guy? He goes, no. I said, do you want me to? And he's like, I don't know what to say. And I get out of the way, basically. But
You know, for the vast majority of times, it isn't a problem. But you don't know when it is.
yeah.
That's the challenge.
Right, you don't want a
And-
bunch of motorcycles blocking our fire trucks from.
And it was
Right.
blocking the whole lane. I mean, this
Yeah.
motorhome was huge.
People, unfortunately, sometimes people don't engage their brain completely when they think about this. And we haven't really had. Apparently it's become more of an issue than it has been in the past. So,
it was mentioned to me that some of the involved may be friends and family of fire department members. And so we
this
should
is-
suggest, in addition to the signage, that,
this is gonna be a blanket,
right,
you know, there's.
Yeah.
This is, you're basically, you're here for a public safety purpose or you're not.
correct.
Or, you know, some sponsored event by the fire department, if they put on the, you know, Halloween thing. I mean, obviously the firefighters are there and they're directing people to park over here, get out of the way, whatever. But it's the, hey, someone pulled in there at 6 AM and it's, you know, now 6 PM, the car's still there.
Mhm.
So,
Wow. Okay.
Excellent. Someone cares to make a motion?
I move that the select board authorize the fire chief as he deems necessary to erect signage at the fire stations to assist in the control unauthorized parking.
Second.
Moved and seconded, perfect.
one more thing, we did make that motion be plural because we haven't had the challenge at the beach, but
It's a matter of time.
Understood.
Yep.
just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. All in favor?
Yeah.
Get towards the end. Select person updates.
I have nothing.
I don't have anything as of yet. I do have a Midco Solid Waste Board of Directors meeting on the 19th, which means potentially both you and I will miss that meeting here. What do we have on the 19th?
Land use
Yeah.
workshop at the school.
No.
Yeah, well, I'm always confused as to what's an update and what's just, hey, by the way. So you tell me, but anyway,
Oh, boy.
I can't remember how we squeezed that in. But I'll take this opportunity right now. Anyway, I just noticed on the couple things in the appendices. One is from Heidi Blood about the animal control. Her boyfriend just passed. And I think it's the right thing to do for us to send her a card and say, thanks, hope things are going well. That type of thing.
We did that for you.
Oh, you've already done it.
Yes.
Good for you. Thanks. Yeah. And the second thing is, it has to do with, I just draw people's attention to the MCOG newsletter. There are a couple of things that are going on, which I think we might want to take advantage of. One is promoting their small business thing, which I think we do out front. And if there are any brochures, I think we should be putting those out. And I can gather those if that's fine by you guys and get them out there. And the other has to do with, I think people might want to seriously think about attending their so-called General Assembly on the 11th, I think. I can't remember. November 20th, excuse me, down at the Alice Head Museum. And you guys might want to look into that because it does have a lot to do with how municipalities deal with landings. That's my update. Yeah.
Is that a daytime meeting on the?
Yeah, it starts at 9, I think.
9 to 3.
Yeah, okay.
Next Waldo County Budget Committee meeting is the 21st. We're still deep in conversation about some of the more expensive departments that are within county. I did an analysis in more detail for them and overall bottom line, they haven't had an audit. 22 is the year that they're still working on. 2023 unaudited, the budget was 500,000 and 529,000 of the budget was not used. When you look budget to actual, so like under budgeted 529,000. And for 2024, it was 700,000. And we brought this up in our meeting that we had this past weekend. And the bottom line was that, we needed to look into, it's really only 3 or 4 of the 15 departments that have large budgets where even if they're only off 6%, it ends up being $300,000, So we're kind of next step is taking a deeper dive, looking at some of the larger departments. It's really human resources, the sheriff, the jail, and IT to a lesser extent. IT is actually, as the budget process has developed, has been the real surprise especially for those of us on the budget committee, because like this is my 3rd year on the budget committee, and the other 2 years they've been talking about how they're doing all this restructuring of stuff and trying to bring all of the IT across all of the departments, the cost for of the equipment and servicing the equipment and all of the software and everything is now in a department with specialists overlooking that, so, but these last 2 years, they've talked about how, we're doing this, we're moving everything around. And all we were really seeing was the cost of the labor. And they were saying, we never really pushed and didn't really understand the magnitude of the expenses that the county was incurring for things like the different software and stuff that they have. They've got 100 employees or so. And, and so they've been paying for that out of reserve funds and not and we didn't understand the magnitude, and this year their budget's gone from like 200,000 to 900,000 kind of a thing. It's like, oh, so
Wow.
yeah, it was pretty shocking to see, and a lot of it is, software. Well, like one of the examples was they were using older equipment. They were on the old Microsoft 365, which you could buy and then use, for many years. And now, of course, you can't do that anymore. And it's all software as a solution. And so they've got all these subscription costs for Microsoft, like, $30,000 or $40,000 or something ridiculous for, for the county writ large. That's just one example, but so that's kind of the biggest surprise. The county was in really tough shape with the prisoner boarding because of our jail not being sufficient. You can't do more than a 72-hour hold. We've got the reentry center. It looks like we're going to have an agreement to change from using Two Rivers and Thomaston to being Somerset County, and Madison is where we'll be going, which they have the capacity, and it would be less expensive for the boarding, but the way they treat substance abuse is different and more expensive. I want to say in a good way. They were, realizing that we do things like Suboxone and individual things like that. And there is a high rate of people coming out and then overdosing and dying. Somerset County has gone to a monthly shot, and I'm forgetting the shot. You guys might know, but it's the shot that basically nullifies the whole effect. And it lasts for 28 days. And so what they're doing is giving the shot once every 28 days to each inmate as an inmate comes in. Worst case scenario, you think of, the entire population. Anyway, it does seem to reduce the problem of people being released and taking some drug and overdosing because they're, which is a good thing, but it's also a lot more expensive. But the county commissioners are looking into using some of the opioid funds to help. We as a budget committee specifically said, please look at using the opioid funds to help with that. That would be a legitimate use of those funds. The problem is that as a county, we just set up a task force in the interest of transparency to be working specifically on coming up with recommendations of what to do with the opioid funds. And so there are people who've been, appointed to this, and, they haven't even met yet. They're still, and we're in the budget now, and there's two things that have come up with the budget. One with Waldo Cap for the transportation that they offer to people with disabilities or, who need to go to medical appointments. That transportation is getting really taken over by substance abuse treatment. And so that had already been something we'd also mentioned, like maybe we could use some opioid funds, settlement funds for that. So I might have given you more detail right now than you wanted, but that's where we are with the budget. And hopefully by mid-December, we'll have a finalized budget, working hard to do some. And honestly, with the possible exception of the miscommunication about, as far as we understand, that was the only real wholesale use of, we'll just use reserve funds. Generally the county, really the people in our county are really working to keep within, keep their expenses down as much as possible. And, I applaud what they are doing.
So Waldo County's not looking at, being Washington County like.
No, right. In fact, it's come up repeatedly
Yeah,
in
yeah.
discussion.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that's good to know, thanks.
2-1 for the comp plan committee, we had a meeting last week. Part of the whole chapter in the meeting actually, so it's very productive, and the committee seems quite energized. On the school facilities committee side, there was a meeting last week. And heard if the boiler's been turned up. It's any day now. Have you heard, David?
I have not.
So everything is done, all the equipment is in, they're waiting to get as of last week, they're waiting to get every party that has to be there. To turn the boiler on, it's scheduled for this week. So, we'll know soon on that. The disconcerting thing that I learned at the meeting was that the school has not been approved for their funding for the whole project. The funding, as you may recall, everybody asks the question, gee, if you don't have audits, are you going to be able to get funding? Funding stuff. School is now figuring out what their next step is out of that. Working with DMC consultants as to how to move forward. All consultants basically stated they saw no problem and they were fronting the money to move that all forward. So right now, in opinion, that's the issue that the school committee and see it.
Is this is the need for, this funding to come through, is anything the school can use as leverage with the auditors? No, because the way I understood it, it was with the auditors, they now had the info they needed, and just waiting.
They're working on 20. And I don't know, none of us know, and neither did the school superintendent or the principal, that if we get 23 done, will they then release or do a lease? That's as far as
But Steve, so far, even though they haven't got the audience, no one's failed. The engineers haven't failed.
project's done, they've spent all the money. on
Right, yeah.
projects. They have not tackled the building envelope portions, which is
Yeah.
some of the installation work
Okay.
and stuff, but as far as the boiler is concerned, that project is excellent.
At one of the final meetings, I can't remember which vote it was, but I am fairly sure, unless someone's gonna say that I heard it completely wrong, that they already had the money to cover this project, the pared down project, within their current capital reserve.
What they stated was that he had, within his maintenance line,
Thank you.
they have more than enough money budgeted annually to cover fee that was going to be.
Mhm,
This was not going to affect taxpayers at all.
mhm. Okay.
Just to chime in, all this conversation with Waldo County audits and school audits and whatever else. I neglected to tell you in their administrative report that the auditor is coming on Thursday and Friday of this week. We are working on 23s, but it's more progress than we've had in 2 years, so
That is good news.
Mm,
yes, it is.
Absolutely. Okay. Moving ahead, we have some treasurers and payroll.
I move that the board approve and sign the treasurer and payroll warrants.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Good. You. And we know.
I move that the select board enter into executive session pursuant to Title I MRSA Section 4056A for a discussion regarding the employment of a part-time town office custodian.
Second.
Moved and seconded.